move on with the other two registries, which are actually a little bit more than sub-registries. We call them cohort studies, because as you will see, we are not only collecting data, but also biological samples from the patients in these two registries. So the first one that I would like to present is the CompCure sub-registry. CompCure is a patient-driven organization, an association that is devoted to improving the lives and the treatment of patients with complement-mediated disorders. That's why it's called CompCure. And we are collaborating with CompCure in the MPGN C3G icMPGN study distribution. So the objective of this project is really to establish a prospective cohort of C3G icMPGN patients by setting up a registry, a longitudinal registry, but also by ensuring standardized diagnostic workup and creating a prospective biobank of samples from these patients. By doing so, we hope to get some good information and up-to-date information about the natural history of C3G MPGN under standard of care conditions, and to define further the diagnostic and prognostic role of complement biomarkers to arrive at better ways to make the correct diagnosis. And also regarding treatment, we would like to help the field moving towards personalized, targeted treatment approaches based on the prospective evidence that will be collected. And also we would like to help patients to get easier access to new trials on innovative therapies in this condition. And ideally, we would also like to use the registry in the long term to monitor the safety and the efficacy of the newly approved drugs. So we are accepting patients of any age, incident and prevalent patients that have a diagnosis of primary MPGN C3G confirmed by kidney biopsy. And we are inviting actually all ERKNet centers, but also centers outside of ERKNet, provided that they are capable to process, store, and send biosamples, and they have a local pathology institute capable to digitize and submit histopathology slides, as you will see in a second. So this is the sub-registry where you can, which you can enter by checking this button, like any other sub-registry. And for the initial complement diagnostics, we are asking for this standardized panel of complement markers and also results of genetic testing. In the core registry, we have seen that many of these items are not routinely collected in all patients. It's actually a patchwork of diagnostic procedures that we are performing in current clinical practice. And the majority of patients do not receive genetic testing. So what we would like to do in this cohort study is really to provide a standardized immunodiagnostic and genetic diagnostic procedure. And we are encouraging the investigators to use one of the 5 reference laboratories that we are collaborating with, Bergamo, Paris, Madrid, Heidelberg, and Gdansk, to send samples there for the initial diagnostic of incident patients, of new patients. And the labs are guaranteeing return of results within 2 weeks. In those countries where these laboratory services are paid through the National Health Services, then we would, the costs would be charged as a normal diagnostic procedure. But there are other countries where not all of these services, especially the genetic testing, would be available or reimbursed by the cost carriers. And there, thanks to the generous grant of CompCure, we would take over the costs of these diagnostic procedures. Let's have a look at the subregistry features that we are collecting in the menu. So we are collecting information about comorbidities. Regarding the biochemical features, at the follow-up visits, we are actually only monitoring C3 and C4 and also hematological parameters that might be altered by the immunosuppressive therapy, and of course, kidney function. We are also collecting the medication history with this form that most of you will know. And for the immunosuppressive drugs, we are actually recording not only the date of start and end of these therapies, but also the precise dose. And in this way, you always have a complete list of drugs that the patient has been exposed to. We also, whereas we collect annual information only in the core registry, here we are focusing on the impact of changes in the immunosuppressive medication. So we are asking at the annual visit entry to enter data on biochemical data that were recorded at the time of any change in medication, and then 2 to 3 months after the change in medication. So we see the direct effect of changes in medication on proteinuria and kidney function. And then we also invite you to participate in the biobanking of this cohort study. So we have prepared kits that we are distributing to the centers that participate in this study with a defined processing protocol. And then the samples can be stored at -80 and sent once a year or to Heidelberg or brought to the annual meeting. We also recently developed a digital biopsy archive for ERKNet and the sub-registries. So it is now possible for the pathology institutes to upload digitized samples, slides, to a central server where they can be reviewed by reference pathologists. We will also embark into projects in the future where we will try to proceed with the diagnostics by digital ways, including artificial intelligence approaches to the analysis of histopathology samples. So what gets you started? The non-ERKNet centers that would like to participate in this would first have to register with the ERKNet registry. So they would have to submit to their local ethics committees the protocol and informed consent of ERKNet and the ethics approval from Heidelberg's ethics committee. This has already been done by the ERKNet centers, of course. Those centers will need, in addition, only as confirmation of the separate informed consent for the cohort study that includes the biobanking. So there's a one-sheet document for the informed consent for that part that would have to be submitted to the ethics committee. And that's basically all. And also an addendum to the data sharing agreement is needed to regulate the modalities of sample collection and sample sharing. Again, thanks to the grant of CompCure, we are able to compensate the centers with 500 euros per case for the initial enrollment and initial workup. and that would include also a fee for the nephropathology services. So we hope with that compensation, we will remove any logistical obstacles for participating in this endeavor. And also for the annual updates, we will pay a compensation of 250 euros per completely documented case that is also biosampled. So how far have we gotten by now? The core registry currently contains 470 patients with C3G or icMPGN. That's 168 children and 268 adults. And as you can see, within the past 6 months, we have included 100 patients in the subregistry, but the biobanking is also only getting started because all the paperwork takes a lot of time. So we have 85 children already documented in our subregistry at least, and the adult component is still to grow. These are the active CompCure sites by now, so almost half of the sites active in ERKNet have received ethics approval for this sub-study. And you can see that most countries actually are also have started being active recently. And the coordinator of this study is Joanna Sladowska from our unit, and she is available for any questions. And if you have any need for support, you just can contact Joanna Sladowska by email. Right. So I think there are some questions in the chat. Yeah, no, that's not a question. Okay. All right, then let me just proceed with the last presentation.
Can I ask a question, Franz?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Actually, I have a few questions, but one question is easy. We have this green challenge to lower the freezer temperature to 70 degrees. And if there is in all protocols 80 degrees.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe just on the, but that's easy. The other question is the interpretation of the diagnostics. So if you send out samples, they go to a biobank, but they also use for clinical diagnostics. And sometimes you would like to discuss the interpretation of those diagnostics.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing that just as a local responsibility, and we should just get in touch with the central institute, or is there a way or a structure where we can discuss patients? And
yeah, there's definitely an interest to discuss patients also in this project. Actually, we are setting up conference calls whenever it's needed with experts in this field of glomerulopathies from ERKNet that will be happy to discuss cases with the investigators. That's actually, I forgot to mention that is something that was brought up by some German investigators, and we are currently setting this up first in Germany, but also we will have this Europe-wide within ERKNet. And we will use probably the new CPMS as it will be released later this month. But we can see what the best format will be. But definitely this is intended to do.
Could you tell us a little bit how much time it takes to enter the core data of the patients and the more broad data entry, sub-registry entry of the patients? Do you have an idea?
No, it's not very laborious to enter it. I would think that within 10 minutes you can enter the data. The important thing is to have the data available to complete the forms. But if you have them, it's really not a lot of work. It's not much more than what I just showed on this one slide.
Yeah. And it's not is there a possibility to have a bulk transfer? Because if you have a local cohort database already? Is that possible, or
in principle, these things are possible. In practice, they are quite difficult, fully, you know, because of the interoperability and compatibility issues. But we can sort this out on a case-by-case basis.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so